Hey, Meghann Scully, and this is the Limerick Post Show. I'm joined by Dee Ryan of Limerick Chamber, and we're going to talk about the revitalisation of O'Connell Street, a very controversial topic.
Hi Megan, thanks for having me on.
Now tell me, this part we're standing in right here, this is going to see some major changes hopefully, so talk about the changes here.
Okay, Limerick Chamber is in favour of an approved vote by the councillors on the revitalisation of O'Connell Street, and we're here standing outside the junction of William Street and O'Connell Street where the first big change is going to happen. So if you look down the street to Arthur's Quay, that's where the new surface is going to come into play. The council's plans, as are on the table for approval by the councillors, removes all of the parking from O'Connell Street and reduces the traffic from this point on, actually from where we are on, to one lane of private vehicles and one lane of public transport.
So public transport, which means the buses are going to be changed.
Well, what the county council is saying to us is they've allowed for the provision of a public transport route on the operations of the road once the road has been completed. So they're laying out a plan for us where we will have a raised, improved, enhanced road surface. And it will be the same surface from the edge of the buildings all the way across the space. Effectively, we can decide what way we want to operate that space afterwards. We have the freedom and the flexibility within the scope of the construction design to do that. But they have suggested how it might be operated in the designs that are on the table. And one of the suggestions is that one route, one lane through these 4 blocks will be retained for public transport purposes. Now, they haven't done that for no reason. They've done that because, as a bus passes us as we're talking, they've done that because they're currently engaged in the preliminary strategy development for Limerick's next public transportation strategy, which will commit us to how we use our routes and how we use public transport over the next 5 years. As part of that strategy, there's money available for Limerick to develop new routes and to develop new bus stops, and that money will be, badly needed and very useful when it comes. But as part of that, they have already indicated that there's a likelihood, not definite, there's a likelihood that they would like to retain the use of one lane on O'Connell Street in order to commute people from the east of the city to the west of the city, so from Corbally to Raheen. Whereas there's lots of people living in Corbally, lots of people working in Raheen, and currently that's how the buses operate. They go through O'Connell Street.
Perfect, Dee. Let's move on to the next page. Now, Dee, we have moved up along O'Connell Street, and one of the things we have to talk about next is pedestrianisation.
And as you know, Megan, the design is based on pedestrian priority. So the scheme that's in front of the councillors to vote in approval of gives us the shared surface, takes out the parking, absolutely widens the space that will be used for footfall for pedestrians, and allows us to actually take in the streetscape around us. I mean, behind you, this beautiful building that Leonard's Menswear are in. You've got the gorgeous Augustinians church there that we'll actually be able to see when we take a significant amount of the traffic off O'Connell Street, which is what the design, as is on the table, will allow us to do.
It just means that we can all share the space together.
I know that some groups are calling for complete pedestrianisation, if not of the entire scheme, of parts of it. And, from a business perspective, we have to say we're not ready. We don't believe that Limerick is ready yet for full pedestrianisation. We'd love us to get there, and we hope that with the introduction of the UL students to their city centre campus, and with the completion of the rugby experience at the top of the street and the increased traffic and footfall that'll bring from tourism, that we might get to a point where Limerick City Centre has enough footfall to allow for great full pedestrianisation. But right now we're not there yet. The other concern that we would have is in terms of traffic. If we take traffic, private vehicle traffic, completely off O'Connell Street, we're going to create a bottleneck like you've never seen before on the outskirts of the city, in Corbally in particular. I mean, the way you hear them talking about Galway and the traffic problems in Galway on the radio every morning, that will be nothing in comparison to what we're going to institute here in Limerick if we went for a pedestrianisation, a full pedestrianised zone anywhere on this block. I look forward to the traffic management system for the county being completed, which will allow us to finalise the plans for how we're going to manage traffic around the city and the county. But until that plan has been done, we're not ready yet to take private vehicle traffic completely off O'Connell Street.
Another thing we have to mention, of course, is the cyclists and what sort of changes will come in place for them?
We're huge believers in promoting sustainable, greener transport methods in Limerick Chamber, and we're feeding in early to the development of the Limerick transport strategy with consultants who are engaging with council right now, because obviously as the largest business member representative group in the Midwest, we have information on what our 450 member companies, how they see public transport and needing to work well for them and their employees going into the future, into the next 5 years.
Okay, so Dee, our third point is on business and tourism. How will this affect, I suppose, business first of all?
We're standing outside the lovely Alex Findlater, which is an example of private investment on O'Connell Street that has enhanced the offering for all of us on O'Connell Street. And over here to my right, we've got the site where they're building the international rugby experience, another major tourism offering that's going to be coming to us on O'Connell Street that hopefully will capture most, if not all, of the 100,000 visitors that come to King John's Castle and bring them right the way up O'Connell Street into our city centre. Now, would you really invite anyone to come to Limerick right now with the state of this? Seriously.
I have to say the street, it changes as every couple of yards you walk, it just surfaces different.
It's an absolute embarrassment, and it's more than an embarrassment, it's a hindrance. Yeah. We know private business owners are telling us they can't get approval from their head offices to invest in their properties in Limerick because of the state of O'Connell Street.
It needs rapid changes, so it does.
We needed this years ago. My fear with the vote on Monday is that concerns about the operations of the street will actually derail the project and will postpone it. The last time these designs were on the table and went out for revision was 2 years ago. It took us 2 years to get a drawing back on the table for councillors to vote on. If we wait another 2 years, we're facing Brexit, more Trump. What's that going to do to our economy? What's that going to do to our funding? We have the experience in Limerick of funding being pulled on projects in the past. We cannot allow this to happen again. This is our project. We have a set of drawings that allows us to use the space whatever way we want to after it's done. It's 4 blocks. It's a construction project. Let's get it across the line. Meghann, another point is the council have allowed in their designs for retractable bollards at the bottom of the scheme, just at the junction of William Street and O'Connell Street. And what that means is we'll be able to raise those bollards and close off this entire space. So from right here outside, where we're going to see the incredible international rugby experience, the award-winning architecturally designed building, all the way down to the corner of Brown Thomas, we can in the future close the space off when we want to. Have our street fests, have our celebration of victories, we hope, in the future for the hurlers and for the rugby team. We can do all of that. The design that's on the table allows us to adapt the space and to use the space whatever way we want.
So we did mention the bicycle lane, so can you explain a bit more to me about that?
I understand why there's calls for bicycle lanes. Limerick is badly in need of a connected bicycle network, and we want that. The Chamber is lobbying for that as well. We're doing it as part of our submission on the National Transport Strategy, and as part of that we're saying those bicycle lanes don't necessarily need to be on O'Connell Street. We're in the middle of a grid city, a Georgian grid city, which allows us the flexibility and freedom of placing things where we want to. Bicycle lanes running on a parallel street would not impact on cyclists' journey time, and in fact some would argue that bicycle lanes on Henry Street would be a much better position for them, connecting the students from Mary Immaculate College potentially much better down to the students on the UL City Centre campus and then on out to LIT. So we do want bicycle lanes, we just don't feel they need to be on O'Connell Street.
Dee Ryan, thank you so much for chatting to the Limerick Post Show.
Thank you.